builds running shoes for those who get out there every day, regardless of weather, speed, energy, or mood. Their distinctive fit and feel combines instinctive human movement with modern performance and lightweight comfort to help you keep going, keep trying, and keep moving. Discover the Topo difference and step into a run experience unlike any other. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 104 of our Run Try Bike Fireside Chat, which will soon fall under the umbrella of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network that we are launching here in May. Our first podcast under that umbrella after the Fireside Chat is going to be hosted by Joe Harden with the Beyond the Finish Line with Joe Harden podcast. He will have two shows every month for you, and you'll be able to watch them here on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And then you'll be able to hear them over on Apple and Spotify when they go live there. Today's guest is Morgan Filler of See Her Swim. Morgan is a marathon swimmer. I've got a whole list here, so I've got to read it to you. Okay, she is was a member of the U.S. National Open Water Swim Team, an Open Water Olympic hopeful. She's the winner of a 16-mile race in Japan, the 28-mile swim around Manhattan Island, and has swam the 21-mile Catalina Channel. If that wasn't enough for everybody, she's also a coach, a surfer, a mother, and a solopreneur. She has launched the brand See Her Swim. You've probably seen their marketing through our channel on Run Try Bike, and I'm thrilled to have her on the show. So let me bring her forward. Hey, Morgan, how are you?
Hi, Jason. So great to be here.
So glad to have you join me. It's November, right? Was when we met at TRE in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a ride since then. I got to tell you, when we went to TRE, you know, it's a massive area. You're just walking around trying to figure out where you're at. You're at a booth, and I look over and I see Her Swim, and my first reaction was a swimming brand at a running event. That seems kind of strange. I hope people come and talk to her and visit with her and chat with her. And so that kind of just brought me over to walking over with Lori to chat with you. What possessed you to go to TRE, a running event with a swimming brand?
Yeah, well, I am exploring all these different trade shows out there. And what I really liked about TRE is that it had like the outside component where there's like the whole outdoors industry, as well as catering to triathletes. And it's like, yes, the focus has a lot of running and running shoes. But what really struck me being there was the fact that there's so many athletes, so many people that are multi-sport people, and that's what really drew me to it, and the opportunity to kind of stick out and be noticeable, and just kind of being a little bit different of people doing double takes and being able to catch their eyes and be like, hey.
It was perfect because it worked. I was like, why is she here? Like my immediate reaction, I was like, I got to go talk to this lady and figure out why she's here. So since then, we've obviously created a business relationship, and we appreciate your support. I do want to jump into the questions with you because I am fascinated with this concept, this idea of marathon swimming. I've gone as far as 2.4 miles in an Ironman, and I've told myself multiple times, oh, go do, a 5K swim. And that just never comes around. So like, how did you get started in marathon swimming? Like, was it something you did immediately? Were you in a pool and you got bored of swimming laps? Like, how does one find their way to marathon swimming?
I know, right? Well, this was in the late 90s. So there was, I grew up swimming and playing soccer, and I was an athlete. My dad was a runner. So we were always outside moving, biking, run, bike, swim, just for enjoyment. And it wasn't until like high school that I lived in Maryland, and there was the Chesapeake Bay Bridge swim, which was a 4.4 open water swim. And we do that every year with my swim team, and then with my dad and my brother and I as a family event. And so that's kind of where my starting ground was 4.5 miles, which takes about 2 hours. And so I was like, oh, okay, like I got this. And it was a love-hate thing. Like the day after we did it, I was like, oh my God, 365 days till the next one, you know? Like I'm so excited, it's so far away. But I loved it at the same time. Um, but that's where it started. And then in college, I kept on swimming. And then I went to college in Maine at Colby College. And then I did a semester abroad to California to Pomona College. Swim coach there is Penny Dean. She has this amazing open water swimming record of English Channel and knowledge and being a coach. And she really helped me step into long distance swimming in the pool, like the mile, really skillfully. And then she's like, well, you should stay in California and swim all these open water swims up and down the coastline and just explore it because you like it and you're good at it. So I did. There's races, like the longest one was a Seal Beach to Newport Beach, and that was a 10-mile. So that kind of was like my next step.
I'm guessing you were able to swim from Seal Beach to Newport Beach faster than going down the PCH.
Totally, exactly, right? And so I won that event, and I was like, what else? That's when I then went back to Maine for college. And it turns out that there was a swim coach, an open water swim coach in Maine that lived in the same town and had these swim camps. Rural Maine in the middle of nowhere is beautiful. And so I was like, sign me up. I want to go. And I met all these pro athletes, pro swimmers, and they kind of told me how to, like, what the circuit is about and all these long distance swims. And one of them was from Vermont to Canada, which was a few hours away. So with my up in California, I applied and I got in. So that's kind of like my entry point. And just swimming in these lakes in Maine where there's no no jet skis. It's just pristine water. The Appalachian Trail goes through it. We just island hop and swam point to point, just swam hours all day. And I was just really solidified my love of like, just keep on going. Like, I don't know my human potential, but like, this is really amazing opportunity in my modus operandi for travel, right? It just became.
That is awesome. Before I go to the next question, we're joined by Vessel Athletics. Jasmine, if that's you, yes, TRE is awesome. And then also Adina O'Neill, who is one of our community leaders and is also a marathon swimmer, has joined us. And Ryan from Open Soul Swimming has now just joined us. So you're bringing in all the swimmers, all the people who are enamored by this, where most triathletes are like, I don't want to be in the water. Get me on the bike, get me on the run, avoid the water altogether. You're obviously bringing them here. So 10-mile swimming from Vermont to Canada. Like, what does a person think about when they're swimming for that long? Because for me, it's all about get out of the water as quickly as I can so that I can jump on my bike and get going. What do you think about when you're out there swimming for so long? And like, at some point you got to get fatigued, and how do you deal with that?
Well, there's no next thing to get to. Like, the open water swimming is it. So there's no place really to what's next. And so most of the marathon races are between 16 to 26 miles. So we're talking like 6 hours to 12-hour races. And, like, it's really great because every swimmer has a support boat next to them, which has like a dry erase board that gives you like what time it is, if there's how far you've gone, how far is left, like who's around me, like who's catching me or who I'm catching. So there's always that feeding of information, which like keeps me going. Just seeing the coach write on the board, I'm like, ooh, what are they gonna write? What's happening? What time is it? So
Love it.
like that's kind of the obvious. My first marathons I went through my whole life. I tried to remember as early as I could. I went through grades like kindergarten first, all the way like through college, and trying to remember memories, positive, negative events. And then I use that not just to think, to escape, but to fuel me, because like emotions fuel performance. And it's not just the joyous things, but the hardships. Like, oh, when I had a bad experience or someone did something to me, negative, like I turned that into power. So then it was part of my fuel, my mental fuel. And then what I did was I started singing songs, and I went through the alphabet of songs. So a song that starts with A, a song that starts with B, all the way to Z.
You know a song that starts with Z?
At this moment, no. But yeah, I have time to think, right? Like
Right,
you have time
true.
to think. And then like I would look at my coach, and I would, like, after a long time, like my eyes would get fuzzy. Like you don't know what you're doing the first time. And so I was preparing myself like I was swimming 100-yard meters. So my goggles were tight, everything was tight and ready. But if I'm swimming 10 hours, those tight goggles really start to hurt after a while. So you have to like actually have your goggles a little bit looser. So then, like I adjust the goggle straps, right? And do a little fidgeting of things to make them feel perfect. And then like looking at the coach and seeing his body position and what that reminds me of. But the biggest thing I think is the environment. Like that's what's alluring to me, is being out in nature, seeing the landscape, seeing the sunrise, seeing it sunset, seeing the night sky, seeing the cycles of nature come and go. Like that's what really fuels me and gets me psyched, versus like swimming in a pool back and forth, back and forth.
What would you say is the prettiest place you've swam?
I think, well, in Slovenia, there was a lake in the middle of the mountains, and there's an island in it. And the water was like turquoise blue color, and it was just gorgeous. Just kind of felt like you're in the middle, isolated somewhere far away. But the coolest swim, my ultimate favorite, was swimming around Manhattan, because
Go New York, go New York, go.
Yeah, like it's amazing. But then like it started and ended by the Twin Towers and by the Statue of Liberty. And then you go counterclockwise around the city, up the East Harlem River, and then down the Hudson. And just being so close to the island and seeing the Circle Line ferry and seeing like the tall ships and the scale, right? Like millions of people live on this island. There's gigantic skyscrapers. There's the Circle Line ferry. I'm this little thing that doesn't really matter, and I'm able to like circumnavigate it.
It was a race you did, right? How many participants are in the race?
I think there's about 30, 15 men and 15 women is the usual.
Yeah. So when you were at the northern tip of the island, you would have passed where I grew up in Inwood, as well as Riverdale, which would have been to the north in the Bronx, that you would have swam through as you came around that way. So when you're coming down the Hudson, are you like sighting off of the Statue of Liberty? Like, what are you sighting off of?
Yeah, well, so my job is just to swim. My coach, I brought my coach from Maine swim camp years, because he's an amazing navigator. And so he was dealing with the logistics, but we hung pretty close to the shoreline, more close to it than farther away. And it started to like thunder and get stormy weather during the swim, but you just kept going. Yeah, and it was just
It's
awesome.
downriver, right? The Hudson flows south,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm.
does that mean is the East River, were you swimming upstream then when you were going up?
Yeah.
So was it really difficult to head up the East River, up the Harlem
You
River?
know, not so much. I feel like at the very top, when you change over from the east to the Hudson, it
Yeah.
was choppy there.
Okay.
Um, but the other thing is that like my family is from Brooklyn, and a lot
Oh,
of them
okay.
are still live in the city, and they followed me along the highway,
No
and
way.
so like I was just so high on life that day because I had my family there, and like this is my home turf, and it's New York
I
City,
love
and
it.
I was pumped. Like I won the race. I was just so energized because most of my other races, I'm in a foreign country. I have to find some random person to help me out. I don't have any
Right.
friends or family, so yeah, I was just so psyched to experience this wild urban adventure.
I'm guessing you go to the west side of Randall's Island when you're going up the East River though, right? Like you're not going all the
Yeah.
way around that either.
No.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
talk about this all day.
Yeah, you really know the details.
Growing up in New York City, this is fascinating to me because I didn't start swimming or getting involved in endurance sports until I actually left New York from a triathlon basis. So, like swimming in around Manhattan was just nothing I had ever heard of. Growing up in the Bronx, I basically played baseball, and
Yeah.
so endurance sports wasn't a thing. I'm fascinated by this. What did you eat when you got out of the water?
Oh,
Where'd you
yeah.
go?
Well, my favorite, no matter what, even the Seal Beach swim, is always like pizza and ice cream.
Yeah, you're not getting the best pizza in Seal Beach.
I know, right? I know, but it was so great because my brother was there and we went out, and then my aunt and uncle who live in Soho like threw a party the next day, and it was just like, and it was all from Zabar's, right? I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I
Is
just
there I love it. Like, we could honestly talk about this all day. Is there a place that you haven't swam where you're like, "It would be awesome to swim
hmm.
here," wherever here is?
Yeah, well, when I travel, I always have that perspective of where to swim next. My family loves the south of France, and so my grandparents retired there, and so we would go visit. And so in the south of France, in between like all the calanques down there, I always thought that would be amazing swim. You have to time it right because the jellyfish can be really. At this point in my life, I don't feel like I want to do something that's like the Ocean Seven, right, or something notable that's highly recognized.
Right.
I think it's more of like a personal thing of to or something like that. But I think next what I want to do is I have two kids, one are 12 and 10, and I would love for them to be on the boat, part of my support at some point. So when they get old enough to do that, I think that's what will bring me back is do some amazing personal place with my kids helping me out.
That would be cool. I, uh
Yeah.
I watched, it must have been like qualifying for the Olympics or something of that effect. And they were people standing on a dock holding like what basically would look like a fishing pole for feeding for the swimmers as they were going by. Like, is that what your experience is like? Or is that only in a certain like type of race where you're coming back around like a loop type race, as opposed to having your team on a boat and you're swimming around an island like Manhattan?
Yeah, so that's pretty much the concept. Everyone has their own version for the races for like Olympic trials or the U.S. national championships. There's one feeding station, And so they have the long sticks with the cup inside
Right.
and the number to make it visible because you're fighting off all these other swimmers coming in. For me, I had my coach and reach, and then I would grab it was like a cup or a water bottle filled with high carbohydrate fluids. It's a powder that you mix in to water, and that's what I would have. I really liked every 15 minutes, and then every 2 hours I would have fizzed out Coke, and I would even put my high carb powder in the Coke too. Um, I like that. And then like sometimes when I had the water bottles, I had like tape like on the water bottle to where my fluid was supposed to. So it was like a no buzz and I drank it. I didn't ever really have to deal with like cold and having like hot liquids or any of that. And I never really got hungry either. For like pick-me-ups, though, I always had Reese's peanut butter cups. Those were my favorite and really quick and easy to digest and eat. I mean, they're kind of like very similar to Goo, more enjoyable to eat. So
Yeah, if you're going to be doing something for 6 to 12 hours, you got to make it as enjoyable as possible.
yeah.
I realized when you said 6 to 12 hours, and my reaction to this idea of you swimming 28 miles or 21 miles around Catalina Island is the similar reaction that I get, and I'm sure Ohm gets too, for being 100-mile runners or 200, 250-mile runners, where people are like, holy crap, how do you do that? Like, how do you manage to go through all of that? Because my vision was 28 miles, not 6 to 12 hours. And when you
Yeah.
put it in that time frame reference, it clicked like, okay, like you're out there for a long time. You've got to eat. You've got to, when you're feeding, I'm taking an assumption that that's sort of a rest moment for you where obviously you're not moving your arms and kicking your legs. So it's an opportunity to kind of recover before you get going again.
Not really, because it's a race. And channel like that, you just pay to do it. You set your date and you go. Sure, you can go for a record if you want, or English channel. But like the ones that I was in a race, no, like everything had to be precisely identified because it had to be quick. So like my coach would raise the water bottle up so I knew it was time to feed. I would swim over to the boat. I would turn over on my back, grab the bottle, chug it, and then go.
Really?
And I guess the one point is the rest would be, it would be nice to be on my back from being on my stomach for so long to kind of stretch out my back in the opposite position was really nice. But no, it wasn't a moment to rest.
It's not like going to an aid station at an ultra 100-mile run where you're there for 3 to 5 minutes, not moving essentially in a race, because again, it's going to take you 24, 26, 32 hours. What's 3 to 5 minutes at that point?
That's a good point. Well, and I could see then too is like you must be really good at those to totally relax everything. Like, are you able to?
Yeah, I got advice before I did my first 100-miler, which was not to sit in the holy shit chairs. And I was like, what the hell's a holy shit chair? And the guy's name was Troy. And he said, well, in the midst of this 100-miler, let's say you're at mile 60, if you sit down for more than 5 minutes, when you go to get back up, your first words are going to be, holy shit. So don't sit in the holy shit chairs. Like, just try to stay on your feet, and relax a little bit. And I would say at this point now, I've run enough 100-milers where I can sit for a couple, 3 minutes and kind of, like, to your point, relax a little bit, make sure I have everything I need, because the next aid station, let's say it's 7 miles away, it might take me 5 hours because, you're climbing up the side of a mountain. So you want to make sure you have everything you need before you get going in that scenario. So you do have a chance to relax, which is why I envisioned you doing that in the midst of a swim, like being able to lay on your back for a couple, 3 minutes while feeding before getting started again.
Yeah, and it kind of, this concept kind of reminds me in training, like when you it's really hard to go swim or run like really easy and then go really fast. So like a lot of my easy swim during speed play isn't super easy. It's like easier, but so that way it's a lot easier to be resilient to bounce back to going full speed.
Yeah, for ultra runners too, like they should really practice walking for, 3, 4, 5 minutes, maybe even a full mile, and then running again, because that's going to happen a lot in the midst of an ultra trail race where you're going to be doing that back and forth, that kind of thing. So, we've been talking for 25 minutes and we have yet to talk about your business, which is one of the things we want to make sure we talk about. So, See Her Swim is your company. You make swimsuits for women, but tell the audience sort of why you got into this space, because I'm sure there are many people who are thinking to themselves, there are so many swimsuits out there. Why do we need another swimsuit company?
Exactly. Yeah, suits. I'm not doing this for a fashion suit thing. I'm doing this because I've spent my whole life in swimsuits. From being in high school where it was stylish to wear two swimsuits for drag, and they're ripped and you just wear it, and then you get to a race and you feel super fast wearing your racing suit. But so yeah, I've just seen the standard training suits all these years and got really bored of it. And it wasn't till like I was living in Berkeley and I was teaching swim lessons and I was coaching and swimming, and it just kind of hit me like, gosh, I want something. There has to be something else. And this is for like, the suits are for exercise, for training, for action, for active women. Want to have for exercise, but also you can hang out, or you can be at the beach and hang out with your family, or just kind of make that transition from exercise to hanging and all be in one suit, and your suit can feel stylish. And I look at it and they're gorgeous, tons of fabulous suits out there. But what I realized is that whenever I put them to swimming or exercise, they would billow and fall out. And I'm like, I know these fashion suits are a good thing. I know we can make them perform for exercise. And so it's like, there's a few styles that were very obvious to me that could make that transition. I guess they're like hybridized, right? And so I took suit styles that with the construction of the elastic, mainly it's like the elastic, and making it a little bit more modest, for diving in, for flip turns, for like being pulled on, that you won't have any unwanted exposure. And suits with this concept, and they looked so handmade. But that was my first goal, is to make my own, and
Right.
they totally worked. I was like, yeah, like, just something that hasn't happened yet, right? I call them performance sheet suits. It's a new category.
Was it something that you wanted to do for yourself, or were you in the mindset of, I'm going to do this as a business from the get go?
Oh, that was all me. It was just for me. Because I was coaching and teaching them the lessons, and I wanted something fun, and I wanted something functional, and I wanted it to last. And I didn't have to, and I just was living in bathing suits all the time. And when you have to wear suits day in, day out, it's like, okay, like, you get to be a little bit more creative, of like, oh, I'm motivated by color. My emotions are driving my decision making of what suit to wear based upon color. Oh, okay. And I want different styles, because we don't always just want the standard suit. And so I'm like, those would work with me, and with various body types too. And so at this time too, like cheeky suits were really starting to take off. And so I'm like, well, for teaching swim lessons, it's not always appropriate to show a lot of butt cheek. So let's have coverage. And it's kind of like jeans, like Banana Republic pants. Like they're standard pants that are classic and they fit a majority of people. So that's what I did with my leg line with the hips, is just make it standard fit that fits most people, that's not going to rock the boat. And then let's have fun with the color blocking and then the different styles.
So what was the catalyst to get it from "this is for me, Morgan" to "I'm going to launch this company called See Her Swim"?
Well, I think the catalyst was that when I moved from Berkeley, I was leaving Berkeley to live in Petaluma, which is a little farther out in San Francisco. I was leaving my coaching and my swim lesson. And so part of the deal is like with my husband, it's like, well, you get to pursue making swimsuits. And I'm like, yeah, all right, okay. But I'm like, well, what about if I make this a career? Now, when my kids are just born, and I start gradually making it a career, that by the time they're in high school or out of the house, like I'll have something to do, and it's something that I believe in, and I'll have enough time to grow this, to give women more options out there. Like it's me, I'm wanting it for me, but a lot of my friends started getting into swimming, and I can be the facilitator to be like, hey, like besides your technique and your stroke, like, hey, did you know that there's lots of options for swimsuits out there? You don't have to be objectified. You can have choices. And this is another choice for women. So it became like a messaging for empowering women to get in the water, to exercise, to have more choices of what you want to wear that.
It's such an awesome story. And it reminds me of the time I talked to another California swim company CEO, Karen Allard at SBR Sports, and how she launched her business and had no idea about the health and beauty space, right? But wanted something for her hair for when she got out of the water. And next thing you know, now she's got a global company, and it's amazing to hear these stories, because I think they're very empowering. When you decided to do this as a company, as a full-time business, and you've already tried qualifying for the Olympics, you've swam around Manhattan, you've swam Catalina Island, like you've done all these hard things. Was doing those hard things sort of like empowering to say, I can also do this hard thing in starting my own company?
100%, exactly. Like I've had so many failures that, like, what's another failure? That's fine. And I know things take time and there's a process, and I definitely take the lessons of what it means to be a swimmer and to go for it, and then to reevaluate, and then to work with other people, to be a team, right? I feel like this is a little bit different than swimming, but the concept's the same. It's like in long term. It's not just for 6 months. It's a lifestyle, and I've created a lifestyle for this, as well as being perfectly imperfect and happy with making mistakes and going with it. And so the way you can't get away without making mistakes. You have to. And so I think it's all painful, whether it's an athletic endeavor or a business endeavor. Like, I'm still going to cry. I'm still going to be like, is this worth it? But at the same time, you just don't know where it's going to take you. And what it is it's launching me into another world with meeting different people, finding like-minded community, and I'm transitioning from the swimming world to the parent world to coaching world to now, like, I'm really creating the world that I want, meeting the people that I jive with, and finding that community. And so it's not just about suits. It's about meeting other people, meeting other women, meeting other men, and empowering women to, like, my hang tag. One woman said she got a suit and she saw the hang tag. It's of me swimming in front of the Golden Gate. And she's like, that's what inspired me to go into open water swimming. I want to swim an Alcatraz or a Golden Gate. And so, like, she's joining my open water swim groups because I'm like, if I have that on my hang tag, I got to back it up. Like, I got to make sure people have the tools, the skills to get in the open water, to have a good first experience, and then to be able to successfully achieve their goal. So it's like putting the whole package together for me, which I didn't know how to put these ingredients together. Like, I'm a coach, I'm a swimmer, I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, but like, how do you put it together? And so this process is really use all these variables as offerings to other people, but then it's also really providing community and nourishment for me. So yeah, I'm just so excited. I don't know where it's going, but I'm just journey.
You have no idea what you've said and how it resonates with me and with our company. So we have a mantra, FIT, which is failure isn't terminal, right? You're going to fail. You're going to have setbacks. Things aren't going to go the way you envision them. Unicorns and rainbows don't exist, but you got to still do it and figure it out. And then I was in the midst of typing a LinkedIn post earlier today and referencing the show Say Yes to the Dress. And the idea was to just say yes. Like, if somebody asks me for a conversation to talk about whatever it might be, I'm going to say yes, because you never know what may come of it. And a perfect example is I had a guy reach out to me on LinkedIn, and he's like, hey, I'd love to talk to you about your podcast, the Fireside Chat that we're on today, and all this stuff. And when we booked the meeting, we hadn't officially launched the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network that we're launching in May officially. And in that conversation, it turns out he has a podcast where he talks to people like you, and I'm going to make sure I connect you to, because he's looking for entrepreneurs in the endurance sports space, right? It's perfect. And so now I'm talking to him about potentially bringing his show under our umbrella as well. And it just goes back to talk to people, meet people, go out on that adventure, take risks, and bet on yourself. And I think you are the perfect example of that by going to TRE. I'll go back to this conversation we had when we started, which was like, here's this swimming brand. And I was blown away by it, because I was like expecting to see all the running shoes and trekking poles and sunglasses, all of that stuff I was expecting to see. And to see a swimming brand there, I was like, okay, we need to go talk to that lady, because she's willing to take risks and show up to something like this. And I want to know more about her.
Thank you so much. It's so true. Like, yeah, exactly. You got to just go and be the oddball out in a way. It's not oddball, but it's just like, show your stuff, right? Like, you don't know. And yeah, that's so awesome. I love that. True.
Yeah. We say all the time, like,
yeah,
I was going to say, be brave, stand alone. The community will show up, right? Like, if you're brave enough to go stand alone, the people will show up to support you. And that's literally what you did. And we are thrilled that we chatted with you at TRE, and we're thrilled to have you as a marketing partner, because you represent all the things that we tell the everyday athlete to do, right? Take the chance. Go run that first 5K. Go run that first mile. Hey, there's a 100-miler hanging out there. Go do it. There's a sprint triathlon out there. Go do it. Now, if you're looking at swimming a 5K, go do it. I need to tell that to myself. Don't get me wrong. I got it. Yeah. But go do it and see what happens, right? You just never know.
Yeah. And it's actually really liberating to do something new, because you don't have any reference.
Right.
It's like the first time for things can be the hardest to show up at the starting line, but it's kind of the best, because this is it, you know?
Right. I'm about to go on an adventure. Look, we say it all the time too. Live a good story, right? Like when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want to be like, yeah, I didn't take risks, and I ate the same tuna sandwich every day for 50 years, and like to me, that's boring. I don't want to do that. I want to be like, yeah, I went and swam around Manhattan Island, and yeah, I ate escargot in France one day. Like I don't know what it is, but like I want to be able to tell stories and do it with people who are also experiencing life. Because look, we've been talking for 40 minutes. It feels like it's been 3. And it's
Totally.
because
Agreed.
the conversations are fun. You're having fun in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. And, like the thing about like doing something new and different that you probably wouldn't do, like I love that because like I eventually ran like a couple marathons. And even though like that's not my forte, like there's so many transferable skills that take you through it so you can make it through most of it, and then it's like your own motivation and the experience of it that can carry you through. But it's such a cool, like I'm very body focused, and so I love to do things that are physical, and so like what running does to you is totally different than what swimming feels like.
Right.
Each modality feels different and has a different positive effect on your body, and I just think it's so cool. Like you can only get that weird walk after a marathon. Like you have to earn that, and like you don't get that in swimming. And so it's just so great to try and see what it feels like to
Right. But
experience.
after running a marathon, I can open up a peanut butter jar. If after swimming 2.5 miles, I probably can, or 28 miles for that matter.
Yeah, right. And then like different cravings, like how your body responds, and all of this for me is like getting to know myself better and becoming a better person and being introspective. Like it's not it, and so I just learn a lot about myself, literally or figuratively, psychologically, spiritually, all that. Like I just love going in and seeing where it takes me.
Were you always that way, sort of like a tinkerer, an experimenter growing up as a kid? Or was that something that you developed, later in life?
um I always wanted to experience things. I was definitely into experiences and trying them out. um I don't have the patience for tinkering. Um, but like I'd always say yes to most physical things, like dancing all night with my head in a speaker or skydiving, right? Like I just wanted to feel and see how my body responds and what my takeaway is.
Have you skydived?
Yeah,
Or is it this amazing experience that's on my bucket list too?
it was cool. I did it in New Hampshire. I did it tandem,
Yeah.
and so I wasn't totally free. But the hardest part was literally just jumping off the plane, getting out. It was so loud. It was so thrilling. It was so amazing. And then you pull the paracord, and then it's quiet, and it's so soothing. Yeah, like it was awesome.
I would imagine swimming is kind of like that for you, right? At the gun, when everybody goes off, they're splashing and thrashing and it's loud. And
Yeah.
then when you're able to get away from it a little bit, everything kind of calms down and now you're in your own element and the world sort of slows down around you. I know Michael Jordan used to describe playing basketball that when he was in the zone, like he didn't even hear, the 18 to 22,000 people around him screaming because he was there. I would imagine that sort of same feeling that you got from skydiving is what happens at a race for you too in the water.
I never thought about that connection, but totally. Yes. Yeah, and then you can, check things out, and you have moments. Because
Right.
there's definitely parts in races where it's like so focused, like can't hear anything else. So yeah. So I think you would like it. I think you would definitely do it. I guess now it becomes like where? Like, do you
Right.
want like mountains or
It doesn't, honestly, I don't really care because from that angle, I've never seen it before. So what difference does it make if it's a mountain or a lake or the ocean at that point, right? I like
Yeah.
it's all gonna, like, to your point earlier, it's all gonna be brand new. It's a new experience. And so if it's a mountain the first time, maybe it's, over farmland the second time, and the third time it's, over water. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you an adrenaline person? Like, do you like that?
Just to an extent, yeah. Like Lori, my girlfriend, laughs all the time because I'm like, "Oh, let's just go run in the woods," and she's like, "But what about bears and jaguars and cougars?" And I'm like, "I have a whistle on my vest," and she's like, "That's never gonna do anything. If the bear eats you, I got to run around trying to find the bear who's whistling because he's got your vest in him too." So I don't, I don't know if it's an adrenaline junkie type thing in that sense, but it's like, pardon my French, fuck it. If I die out there, I die out there. I've done, let's go have fun kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you're totally a risk taker.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we talk about this often. I try to figure out what I could do to help a person who's risk averse to get into being less risk averse, right?
Mhm.
There are people who won't start businesses. There are people who won't run. There are people who won't do things because of risk
Yeah.
and the fear of failure. And it's like, look, if you're trying to do something that either will not bankrupt you completely and will not kill you, go for it. You're going to learn a lesson from it.
Yeah, I agree. And like, there's certain places that are like bring about different feelings, like rock climbing, getting edgy. Like, most people have a fear of that, and they're playing on the edge with that fear. And just like you're running in the woods, like you're running with the possibility that you might run into an animal.
Right.
And so, like, maybe one person would prefer the wall versus one person would prefer running, right? So defining your preference of risks might help that too. But
yeah, and I think what happens is when you take that risk and you realize that you didn't die, whether
yeah,
it was fully successful or not, you're like, okay, I could do something else. And then you take another step and then it's successful. And now you take a bigger step and you just keep building that momentum one on top of the other. And before you know it, you're swimming around Manhattan Island, you're running a 250-mile race, you're starting a business, you're doing all the things that you were scared of. But because you took that first step and you built that momentum around it and you realized, and you ask yourself, what was I really afraid of?
yeah, it's a lot of the unknown. And that's kind of like swimming in open water where you can't see the bottom. It's like your mind wanders.
Yeah.
I would not go to an aquarium for decades because I was like, I don't want to know what's in the water. I'd rather be naive to not knowing because of that. And, so much of this is like during my being scared and taking risks, I cried.
Yeah.
I definitely was like this and fearful and like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I definitely did not do it pretty, or courageous looking or like valiant, like I'm going to conquer. No, like I quivered and I was, scared and cried, but hey, that's part of the process. Like, you got to be honest about it.
And you learn, like Om and I talked about our very first Fireside Chat, and we went and looked at the video, and it's horrendous. Like, it is horrendous. People talking over each other, like just so blatantly bad, right? But this is our 104th episode, and I don't know that we've ironed all the wrinkles, but we're getting better with it to the point where, like, you know what? We can produce other podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, you figure it out and you move along, and to this day nobody's ever emailed us and said, your first episode's horrendous, I'm never watching or listening ever again, right?
Yeah, like most people, yeah, it's but you see now, it's about now.
Right.
Yeah, and that's so great, and it's so helpful to have a buddy to do it with, right? Like
100%.
Yeah.
Like he was in the UK for the past week and I was in LA for the past week, and we're trying to run this company, and I'm stressed out, and he's not around to talk to and do the things that he normally does, so I'm picking up the slack for him. And there were moments last week I was like, can I do this? Like,
Yeah.
is this something that I'm good at? And look, we made it through the week. We didn't go bankrupt. We're still putting on shows. We're still putting out content. And, you know, in a week from now, I will have forgotten about that week and we will have moved on because we take the learnings from it and continue to progress and get better and move forward. I mean, and I think that for anybody who's listening to this or watching it live, take the chance, take the risk, and figure out what you're good at and build that momentum on the things that you're good at, and anything that you have failed at or were unsuccessful at, just learn from. Don't close up shop. Just learn from it.
Yeah, I agree. That's well said.
We are 50 minutes into this. We're an hour show, so we're going to jump into our rapid fire food questions that we ask everybody. But before we do that, Morgan, where can people go to find your swimsuits?
Yeah, so I have a website, seeherswim.com. And then also, we also sell at swimoutlet.com, another online retailer. So both places. And then if you're in California, I do a lot of pop-ups at open water and pool events this summer, all in the San Francisco Bay Area. So you can find out about the pop-ups at my website.
We visit LA a lot, and Ohm is based in LA. Is there any chance we can get you to come down there and we could support you
Yeah,
down there?
I would love to come on down there. You bet.
Awesome. We'll connect on that. So are you ready for, we call them rapid fire questions, but feel free to think about them if you need to. You
Okay.
ready?
Yeah.
By the way, they're all based on food because it's my favorite topic outside of business and entrepreneurship. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Nay.
All right. Is that because your family's New York based, do you think?
Yeah. They're like the Hawaiian pizza. No.
They come out to California. You're like, you want to go to CPK? They're like, no.
Oh no, we make our own pizzas.
Well, good
And
for
that's
you. That's even
still
better.
not. Yeah, it's not on even on the kids' pizza. Sorry.
Oreos. Are you
Yeah.
a fan of the original, double stuff, those crackers they call Oreo thins, or literally the cake they call Oreo cakesters?
Well, and there's a third, and I found it in Europe, or Argentina actually, and I started seeing them in the States. It's like a standard Oreo cookie with melted chocolate around it. That's my favorite.
That's the go-to for you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it's a treat, but my go-to is double stuffs.
Oh, okay. Are you a fan of licorice?
Yeah.
Red or black?
Oh, that's hard. I love them both. Somehow I feel like the black is more medicinal. And like, the cherry is just sweet candy. So
Yeah, that anise flavor is definitely
yeah.
in the more medicinal family than it is like
Yeah.
candy.
But I used to like red more, but then I've kind of switched over to black as I age.
Are Peeps a real candy, or are they just dust covered in glitter?
They're a real candy.
Oh no.
I think so because my mom loves them and she buys them for my kids like every Easter time. And so we've had them in our family for years, and we put them in the freezer, and then like you eat them frozen because they're a little bit better.
Oh, this is a new take because we've been told by multiple people that the best way to eat them is stale. And my reaction to that has always been, so you want me to take a crap candy and make it worse, and somehow that's going to taste better. But frozen, I've never heard of. That's new.
Yeah, it's kind of like the stale way, but frozen.
So we did a Food Fight Friday around Easter where Katie, Phaedra, and Val joined me, and we ranked the Easter candy. So we're talking about Peeps. I want you to rank Easter candy, and here are your choices. Okay. Peeps, the Brock's jelly beans, not Jelly Bellies, not those like fancy ones. Brock's that, black is black, which tastes just like the red one, which just tastes like the orange one. Cadbury cream egg, Reese's peanut butter egg, or the hollow chocolate bunny.
Yeah. Reese's peanut butter eggs, the the hollow chocolate bunny, and then the Cadbury cream egg, and then the Brock's jelly beans, and then
Peeps is fifth?
yeah. I think they're great novelty. I don't like, literally I can have 2 bites and I'm good. But then like the chocolate.
We're going to stick with the holiday themed candy. Is candy corn a real candy, or is it just earwax coated in sugar?
Yeah. Earwax coated in sugar.
Like, I can't figure out who's buying all of this candy corn that this company's been in business for like 100 years.
Yeah, and then the pumpkins, the candied pumpkins too.
It's terrible. It's
Well, I
terrible.
think they're really neat for like decorating, like cupcakes. Like you put a candy corn on top or something.
When
But
you don't have a candle to light?
yeah, like I'm thinking kid world, right? Like everything has to be kind of fun, and so these little like sprinkles or like toppers.
I was a kid once, and the candy corn was not one of the ones I wanted.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I guess you don't eat it; it's just for decoration.
Flick them. Like,
Yeah.
peanut butter or nut butter if you have allergies. Do you go creamy or crunchy?
Crunchy.
All the time, 100%.
Yeah, all the time.
When you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, do you put the peanut butter on one side and jelly on the other piece of bread and then smash them together? Or do you put the peanut butter on one and then the jelly on the same side and just fold over the bread?
Yeah, I've never paid attention to that. I don't think it really matters to me. Have you noticed the difference?
No, but I'm the kind of person who puts the peanut butter and the jelly on one slice of bread and then folds over.
Okay.
Right? But I would use Goobers. Do you remember Goober? That company that used to put peanut butter and jelly in the same jar?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would eat that stuff, just grab it out, throw it on there, and we're good to go. It's all going to the same spot. So
Right. That makes sense.
when you do make a PB&J, how do you cut it? Do you create 2 rectangles, 2 triangles, 4 squares, or 4 triangles?
For myself, I don't cut it at all. I just have it
Nice.
as one thing and just eat it. For my kids, I've done it all different ways, and they actually like it on the triangle design.
I'm a 4 triangle guy. I pretend like I'm fancy eating PB&J tapas. So you just have like a little finger sandwich.
I mean, peanut butter and jelly is my favorite thing to eat in general, like on the run, on the go, just pre-swim, everything. It's the best.
So Smuckers, if you're listening, we're looking for a sponsor for our Food Fight Friday. But Uncrustables, when you're on the bike, is the greatest thing because you throw them in your jersey pocket and you can pull it out. I mean, it's ideal for cycling.
Ah, yeah.
Is a hot dog a taco or a sandwich?
I think
Really?
it's a taco. I think it's a soft taco.
I go sandwich because the bread is a little thicker than you would get out of like a tortilla. You made it a point to say soft taco twice. So are you a bigger fan of soft tacos over hard shell tacos then? Yeah, right. Like hard shell tacos should not be a thing. They're just nachos. Like you take one bite, it crumbles, and now you got nachos. Just eat nachos.
I know, and even the taco companies, the hard shells, they've created like a flat bottom, so supposedly it's easier.
Because they knew that their product was wrong to begin with. That's why they had to fix it. The corn tortilla is perfect. Like they're not coming up with a brand new soft corn tortilla, right?
That's true.
Is red velvet cake a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom.
Exactly right. Like, here's your $8 chocolate cake because we put red food dye in it. No, just give me the $5 chocolate cake and I'm good to go.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Dr. Pepper or something. Like it's got a little bit differentness to it, but it's still like a Coke.
I love it. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, coffee Heath Bar Crunch.
Nice. Ooh, I need to. Do you know who's your favorite manufacturer of it?
Yeah, well, Ben and Jerry's.
Okay, I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, it's
Would you?
so I love it. I've always loved it. I like coffee, ice cream in general, and
Me too.
so
Are you so do you prefer ice cream over sorbet and gelato?
yeah. Well, I mean, gelato is pretty darn good. So that's a tough call. But I guess like with most gelatos, there's no like stuff inside.
Right.
So sometimes I really like the stuff. So
Chocolate chip cookie or oatmeal raisin cookie?
chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah. Can you be like a Chips Ahoy, which is real crunchy, or do you need it to be kind of quasi fresh baked?
Yeah, I like the soft baked.
Do you eat Pop Tarts?
Not so much, but I love them.
Okay, so frosted or unfrosted?
Frosted.
Yeah. Who are the people eating the cardboard? Like, who are the people eating the unfrosted kind? I don't get it.
I don't get it. It's so it's kind of like a necessity. I just
Right.
love that. Yep.
Tuna salad, egg salad, or potato salad?
Mm. Um, well, I just made egg salad from Easter, and so that I don't eat egg salad very much, but when I do, I really like it, and I definitely eat more tuna, but I don't make it into a salad. So I like tuna more, and then I'd say an egg salad.
All right, last question. Brownies. Are you the kind of person who wants the edge that has a little bit of crisp to it, or the centerpiece, which is a little bit more gooey?
Ooh, that's such a hard question.
I'm here for the hard-hitting questions, so I'm going to win
Yeah,
a
right?
television award one day.
Yeah. Can I say it depends on my mood?
No,
But
you have to have an answer.
okay, I'll say the gooey inside.
What's the flavor of ice cream you're putting on top when you make it at home?
Exactly. Coffee Heath Bar Crunch.
Yeah, like coffee, yes. Most people say vanilla, but coffee for me is the way to go because you kind of get sort of like this mocha
Yeah.
latte when you put the coffee with the brownie. It's perfect.
Yep. And that's kind of my favorite thing to have for my birthday too, is like homemade brownies, and my partner will make Coffee Heath Bar ice cream, and I'm like, I'm good. That's all I want. It's just so satisfying.
I
You know?
love it. Morgan, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a blast chatting with you. For those of you that are watching at home, seeherswim.com, SEEHERSWIM.com. Check out her swimsuits. They are not just functional, they are also fashionable. Morgan, thank you very much for your time. We'll see you again.
Thanks, Jason. It's been really fun. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.